Hello, and welcome to Oracle 12c Database Administration. My name is Steve Reese, and I'll be taking you through an overall look at database administration in the Oracle 12c database product. Oracle 12c is the latest version of the Oracle database, the most widely used commercial database system in the world. So what should you expect to learn from this course? We'll begin by looking at the Oracle technology family. Oracle is a massive company with a large set of technology offerings that span the entire enterprise IT stack. We'll examine their offerings in hardware, operating systems, virtualization, middleware, and programming language. Next, we'll focus on our particular interest, the Oracle database. We'll cover what a database is and how the Oracle database product is offered in terms of editions and versions. Next, we take an in-depth, under-the-hood look at the Oracle database architecture. We'll look at how Oracle uses three basic resources of a computer, CPU, memory, and disk, to manage data. Next, we'll actually step through the process of installing the Oracle software so that you can do it yourself. Once the software is installed, we'll step through the process of actually planning and creating an Oracle database using the software. This will be a database that you yourself can use to experiment and learn more about Oracle database. Once we have the database and software in place, we're going to take a look at the most important programming language in the database world, SQL, or Structured Query Language. We'll cover all the basics of querying and manipulating database data, such as selects, inserts, updates, joins, and data aggregation with functions. Once we've built our foundation in SQL, we'll examine PL SQL, the programmatic extensions to SQL that enable us to do typical operations we associate with programming, things like looping, branching, and conditional logic. Once we've learned how to manipulate data in the Oracle 12c database, we'll go deeper into some of the administrative functions, such as storage management. We'll examine how Oracle stores data, both on the micro level with database blocks and at the macro level with table spaces. Next, we'll look at the type of database objects that Oracle stores in these structures, objects such as tables and partitions. We'll also look at the different types of indexes available in Oracle and how they work. We'll also learn about database constraints, such as primary keys and foreign keys, and how they are used to enforce business logic. Then we'll look at one of the hottest topics in IT today, security. We'll learn about the principles behind database security. We'll examine how to create users and grant them permissions. And we'll look at constructs such as profiles and auditing, and how they can be used to better secure a database. Following our look at security, we begin our look at some of the more hardcore functions of a database administrator. These are operations that are generally restricted to the responsibility of a DBA. Here we're talking about things like the process of starting up and shutting down a database. We'll look at modifying database parameters and use the data dictionary to acquire knowledge about what's actually happening in the database. We'll examine how we can use logs and trace files in diagnostic situations, and we'll learn about how to manage memory in Oracle. Next, we'll examine what is perhaps the most important job of a database administrator, backup and recovery. We'll examine how to use Oracle's Recovery Manager, or RMAN, to take hot, cold, or incremental backups. And we'll look at the process of database recovery and how to accomplish this with RMAN. We also examine the concept of data migration, how to move data from one place to another. Oracle has a number of features to accomplish this, and we'll examine the most important ones, subjects like Data Pump and SQL Loader, as well as external tables. Finally, we learn how to configure an Oracle database for networking, to set up a database so that users can connect to it remotely. In short, this course covers the entire spectrum of what Oracle 12c has to offer as a database platform, from installation to configuration to programming and administration.